best psychics will say, here are your opportunities and how to grab them. Here's the tough stuff. Here's how to get through it or around it. Here's your toolbox. Because we hand you the toolbox, we're not the repairman. Remember, free will is the name of the game. We tell you we see a snapshot, but it's not a guarantee. For instance, there was a woman who came to me and said, I want to know where my husband is sleeping with his mistress. I said, I'm sorry, I don't do remote spying. There are certain rules we will not cross.
Today's masterclass is a psychic boot camp. Everything you need to know to go to a psychic without getting bamboozled. Our guest today is Corbie Mitleid, a certified tarot master, psychic medium, teacher, and ordained minister. Has been reading for over 50 years and is a full-time intuitive counsellor with clients worldwide. As an author, her self-help volume, Clean Out Your Life Closet, encourages you to write your own story of change based on your history, your life experiences, and your personal goals. Corbie's abilities include tarot and oracle card reading, spiritual intuitive counseling, past life retrieval and analyst, medium and spirit guide conference. Welcome, Corbie.
It's great to be here. Thank you for asking.
So what got you started on your journey of psychic? Is that something that naturally happened or you were noticing experiences?
Oh, this is the 30-second elevator speech that always gets asked. When I was 9, I read a book called The Witch Family by Eleanor Estes, and I thought, wow, there's magic in the world. I want to go find it. Fast forward to 1973, when I was a senior in high school here in New York. They had the James Bond 007 tarot deck at Spencer Gifts, and I bought it because we were all hippies then. I read for friends for 20 years because the cards fascinated me. All of a sudden, in the early 1990s, I could do hands-on healing and talk to dead people with no training. That's when the universe handed me my draft notice and said, you're working for us. So I did it part-time until 9/11, when my husband and I watched the towers burn. And I said, I need to do this work full time. People will need to know there are other answers out there. He said, I believe in you, go do it. So one more year doing corporate. And as of 2002, it became full time permanently. It's been 20 years. I work 6 days a week. I read 1,000 people a year. And I get to get up in the morning. I don't have to get up in the morning. That's the big thing.
Wow. That's amazing. So what are some of the misconceptions people have about going to a psychic?
They assume that we are fortune tellers, that we can tell them everything and that we're 100% accurate. And if we're not, we're fakes. They assume that we are dial-a-dead. And if they want to speak to someone who's crossed over, if we can't read them, we're fakes. They assume that we read their head as they walk by and we have no morals. It's pretty insane.
Yeah.
So that's why I have a couple of courses. The one I think we're going to go over today is Psychic Boot Camp. Psychic 101, The Good, the Bad, and the Cleos. And Psychics 102, How to Prep for a Great Psychic Reading.
Okay. Do you want to get straight into that?
Absolutely. Psychics 101. You know, I always use a mnemonic. What's a mnemonic? Well, PTA in the States stands for Parent Teacher Association. So it's a word and each letter has a meaning. So take the word psychic. The 7 keys are professionalism, sharing references, you're in charge of your own life, charges, here I can fix anything for a price, those are those stories, inappropriate actions and connections. So let's go with it. Professionalism. Yes, I am a professional because I do it full time. I've got certifications, all of that. But there are also professionals who own dry cleaning services or work as legal assistants, and they do this evenings and weekends. Why are they professionals? If they respect you as a client, They respect other psychics in the field and general social conventions. They don't meet you at the door in a bathrobe or a bikini. Now, if you were going to choose a lawyer, for instance, there would be certain things you would look for. You would make sure that you could get an appointment reasonably and that the appointment was kept. You would make sure that the lawyer could explain things to you in a language that you understood. You'd expect to know what you were going to be charged. You would expect your business to be kept confidential, not discussed in the elevator or around the water cooler. And you would expect to be treated with courtesy and respect. And that's the way a psychic should work with you as well. If we call ourselves professionals, we need to treat you the way any professional expert would.
That's excellent. Good to know.
The next one is sharing references. And again, I'm going to use the U.S. examples. If you lived out in Lake Havasu, Arizona, and you always went to my good friend Stacy Wells, but you've moved to Philadelphia and you don't want a reading over the phone, you don't want to have to fly back to Arizona to get readings. But a friend at work says, I go to Binky the Magnificent and Binky's really good. So how do you check on Binky? Number one, you call, you find out what's the specialties, when can you see them, how long have they been reading, but then you always ask for a couple of references. Do you have a couple of clients I can talk to? If we're professionals, we all have them. A handful of our clients that have said, yeah, they can call me, no problem. Because that's where you can ask the questions you can't ask the psychic. Things like, do they always predict the same thing, happy, or doom and gloom? Do they always try to upsell you? Do they tell you you can't see another psychic? An example of that is she's dead now, so I can refer to her. I'll just call her Madame Hoo-Ha. Back when I was first doing this full time, she was the promoter at the psychic fair I was attending. Okay. And I was so excited. Wow, I've got a booth. She said, "You're so welcome. Now, let me show you how we read here." Now, that was a couple of months before I married my husband. We are now 20 years married and still in love. But she flipped a few cards and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, but your fiance is cheating on you with your best friend and he's siphoning money out of your bank account." Now, at that point, my best friend was living in Thousand Oaks, California. I'm in New York. Daily? I don't think so. And he didn't even know where I had a bank account. So then she says, "Let me tell you how to work with this," and proceeded to tell me how she took her last 4 husbands to the cleaners. Money channels give money information. The best psychics will say, here are your opportunities and how to grab them. Here's the tough stuff. Here's how to get through it or around it. Here's your toolbox. Because we hand you the toolbox. We're not the repairman. Okay?
That.
You are in charge of your own life. No psychic should ever tell you that you're cursed, that you have bad luck, and that your life is so screwed up. Somebody like that psychic has to lead you through it. That happens, you get up and leave. Okay?
Yes.
I don't know what it's like worldwide, but on the circuit that I used to be on when I traveled a great deal, we always recorded the session for you. I mean, when I started, we did it on cassettes and then CD recordings, and now it's MP3s. The reason that you need to have this is because you will never remember everything, and if you're taking notes, you're not listening. You need to go back and listen to it again, and some things will be, oh my God, how did they know that? And some things will be, are they on drugs? And some things are kind of, not sure. You put it away, and you come back to it a few weeks or a couple of months later and see if we were picking up on something. One of my favorite stories about this, there was a woman I was reading in Kitchener, Ontario, and I saw a couple of challenges for her that I told her about. She looks at me, she gets up, she says something inflammatory and leaves. Okay, fine. She's the first person back in my chair the next time I come up, and she said, last time I said, and I said, yes, I remember. She said, because you told me that I was going to take in a boarder, and then I was probably going to want to sell my house, and I thought that was all bull, but my daughter got pregnant and moved home, and now I'm going to sell my house to help raise my grandson, and I still don't like you, but I want to know what else you see. Don't shoot the messenger. Okay?
Love it.
Remember, free will is the name of the game. We tell you we see a snapshot. but it's not a guarantee. If it
Mm-hmm.
happens, work with it. If it doesn't, just say thank you. Okay? The next thing, C is for charges. Psychics can charge as little as $10 in Jackson Square, New Orleans, to thousands.
Okay.
We all deserve to get paid if we are courteous, professional, and reasonably accurate. The reason I say reasonably accurate is because the only one 100% accurate is God. And he's not doing psychic fairs this week. We're 85 if we're really good. Do not pay if there's a clear non-connection. Okay? For instance, if there was a woman who read for me, she was another psychic at the fair, and I will not recommend a psychic if I haven't had a reading. So I say, Geraldine, can we have a reading? I'd like to see how you read. And she takes my hands and she says, there are never men in your life and you're so lonely. I'm wearing my wedding ring. I talked about my husband and there are pictures of him on my desk. That's not getting it. So I let her finish, but obviously I never recommended her. Okay. If the psychic tells you about a past life you don't know or a spirit guide you're not familiar with, you got to trust that they may be getting something. But if they tell you factual stuff that's incorrect, for instance, you are in your late 60s and they say, of your 4 children, it's the youngest who's going to take care of you as you age, and you are childless, they're not getting you. You get up and you leave.
Yeah.
But we have a right not to read you as well.
Ooh.
For instance, there was a woman who came to me and said, I want to know where my husband is sleeping with his mistress. I said, I'm sorry, I don't do remote spying. Oh. Well, how many mistresses has he had? I'm sorry, that's remote spying. God, you don't say anything. All right, is he sick? Am I going to get his money when he dies? And I just said, I'm not connecting with you, and I gave her money back. There are certain rules we will not cross.
Yeah, definitely.
PSYCH, 8. Here, I can fix anything for a price. These are all the stories. A psychic cannot make a neighbor move away, get you a job you don't deserve, steal somebody else's husband, get rid of somebody's dog. And not the lottery numbers. Anybody ever ask me the lottery numbers, I grin and I say, well, me first. One of the classic examples I have about this is there was a man who was in love with a woman down the street. She had a husband and a dog and a baby and a minivan, but he ran into one of the fake gypsies who said, there are karmic knots to untie. And as soon as we do that, she will leave her husband and fall into your arms. 3 years and $30,000 later, the psychic had left her parts unknown. He'd still never met her and she'd had another baby. That's the kind of thing that I warn you against. Okay?
Definitely.
Inappropriate actions. Those are funny stories. This is much worse. For instance, the psychic tells you that your jewelry or your house or your money is cursed. So they need to hang on to your jewelry or your stock portfolio or your bank account information or the deed to your house and bless it. Guys, you may love me and trust me, but do you know my cleaning lady? Do you know the people who come to our house for dinner? I wouldn't trust my brother with that information. Why would you trust me? So
Absolutely.
Trust me, if we need to bless something, we can do it from a distance. Don't give your psychic that stuff. Number 2, the psychic tells you that because of a past life, you're connected with them, you owe them money, you have to put them through college, you have to let them live with you, something like that. No. A dear friend of mine, in fact, she was the woman who married me to Carl when she was much younger. She went to one of those group readings, and the psychic must have seen the word sucker printed across her forehead, because all of a sudden she stopped. She says, Sharon, today is your lucky day. And do you know why? When I was high priest of Ramses II, you were the novice that had me killed, and today we can clear your karma. We had to do an intervention before she lost everything. Okay. I don't care if I figure out that you were Kurt Wolff, World War I flying ace, and I was your buddy Irwin. I would not walk up to you and go, Kurtchen, how is it? And how's the triplane flying? Because it doesn't matter. Maybe if we've been reading for 15 years, I let you know and we go out for a beer. That's it. Okay? The psychic should never tell you that however you believe is wrong. You have to have the same belief system they do. I don't care if you are Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, pagan, Hindu, or believe in Ralph the Wonder Dog. I really don't. For me, it's good enough, somebody up there loves you, wants the best for you, and is willing to work with you. Simple as that. And the last thing is, if you're coming off a bad relationship and the psychic makes moves on you,
Ooh.
that is predator behavior. And I have only one thing to ask. You wouldn't sleep with your priest, and you wouldn't sleep with your psychologist, and you wouldn't sleep with your doctor. Why the heck would you sleep with your psychic? If you fall in love with them, wonderful. Get married, have lots of little indigo children, but find somebody else to read you, because they can no longer be objective about the person they love. Okay?
Yeah,
and the last letter is connections. We make connections for you upstairs. You make connections with us. But realize you can also make connections out in the world. If we've done a good job for you, please share our information with people. We can't advertise on television generally because we're still seen a little out there. If you've had a reading that was less than satisfactory with us, tell us privately. We are always wanting to learn, but make it constructive criticism, not just you suck. Okay?
Yes.
So that's the first component of how to choose a psychic. Now, when you go to a psychic fair and you don't know any of us from, as they say, Adam's house cat, how do you choose a psychic? Well, I tell you that you have to behave like a good puppy. First, you have to do your walkies. You're going to go in, you're going to walk around, you're going to look at all the booths, you're going to just get a general feel. Then you're going to get paper trained. What does that mean? Yeah. Paper trained means that you're going to go around and collect the flyers or the rack cards from anybody who looks interesting. Okay? You can talk to us if we're free, or you can talk to our front people. But remember, we hire our front people to say they love us. My very first front person was my husband's office manager Monday through Friday. Do you think she's going to diss me on the weekends? No. Look for our testimonial books. We all have them, and read through. These are comments from people that have had readings. Are we good? Are we kind? Are we funny? Do we have specialties? Children, dogs, dead people. Would they come back? Okay? Once you've read through the information that you've gotten and you've talked to us, the last thing is check in here. You're putting your hard-earned money on the table. If the psychic doesn't feel like they have a brain in their head, they really care about what they're doing, or they're going to give you good information, don't go there, no matter how cool the wiki-woo looks on the table. And if nobody there rings your chimes, leave without a reading. There will be someone some other time, I promise. So that's our first half. Got any questions on that before I go on?
Some people say you shouldn't ask any questions to a psychic because they should know everything. Is that a good thing to do?
Wrong answer. I mean, for me, that's like climbing Everest in sneakers. There's no grip.
Okay.
When you sit down with me, at most in psychic fair, we've got a half an hour. And I'm fast and I'm good, but I can't do your entire life. So when you sit down, I will say to you, what's the most important thing you want to walk out of here knowing? And if you get blank on me, I'll go Brooklyn on you and go, darling, what's biting your butt? Because everybody will key into that. Why do I do that? Because I have so many talents. I need to know which one to use. You don't walk into a doctor's office and say, fix me. He doesn't know whether to give you an x-ray, a shot, manipulation. He does not know. So I can do 4 things. Your everyday tour bus, house, car, job, kids. Okay, God, you put me here. Now what? Who you were in 1642 Belgium. We'll speak to your spirit guide, Binky, or how's dead Aunt Mabel. I can't do all of that in a half an hour. Now, let's say you say everyday tour bus. Well, I'll start out with a general reading, but then I'll say, where's the subsection you want to go? Because if you want to spend time on your 5 grandchildren, you don't want to know about business because you're going to retire in 2 years anyway. See that? But let's say you ask about career. I will look at you and say, You want to stay where you are, change jobs, or open your own place. Why? Because I have multiple card spreads that are completely different one for the other. Let's say you said, I'd like to open up a bookshop. Great. It would not be 3 cards, wait until August and fire the redhead. Tells you nothing. It would be a card for you, a card for the energy around the business, the brick and mortar location, how to market it, clients, competition, staff, finances, what you need to know, and best possible outcome. Because that gives you empowering information. It's why I also tell people, do not ask yes or no questions, because what if I said no? You have no place to go.
Mm-hmm.
Better to say, how do I get to where I want to be? If you want to look at a relationship, does Bruce love me? Very common question. Card for the client, a card for their partner, or the object of their love. The relationship as it stands, what they need to know, and best possible outcome. If they still can't make a decision, I do what I call the 3 threes. 3 cards for status quo. They just let the relationship flow. 3 cards for serious, draw a line in the sand counseling, and 3 cards if they leave. Now, for me, if I see the leave card has neon signs like Beetlejuice, 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 I still have to zip it because it's her free will. And if she says, I guess I'll just stick with it for a while, that is her decision. The only time I change that is if she tells me she's being gaslit or battered in some way or abused. The reader's hat comes off, the reverend collar goes on, and I counsel her on how to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is my duty as a reverend.
Yes.
The key is the best readings are dialogues. Not that you have to give us lots of information. It's, in a way, the exact opposite when I do mediumship. I do not fish. I see a woman in a flower dress handing you a rose. It's grandma. Too vague. So I will get their dog tags. For instance, my father, Jerome Richard Dorkin, who died in 2001 at the age of 80. Notice that tells me nothing. That gets me right into the energy. Right. Then, for some reason that I have no idea, my guides chose to work with me with charades. What does that mean? I'll put my hands out and they'll start to move. This could mean they smoked. This could mean it was an accident. A hand over the mouth means they were either intubated, on oxygen, having trouble breathing. Now, if I say something, you don't correct me. For instance, if I go, I'm getting a headache, there could have been some brain involvement. Don't say, no, they died of left elbow cancer, because now that's something you told me that I can't get back. Your job is to go, no, not sure, yes, and oh my God. And then I will open up things. But the things I get are usually pretty specific. A woman wanted to speak to her father-in-law. I felt myself miming a pool cue. He had taught her how to play pool. A woman in Canada wanted to speak with her grandfather. All of a sudden, I feel myself salute. Now, remember, Americans salute with their palms down, but I saluted with my palm out as they do in Canada. She had just graduated from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Academy, and he was congratulating her. See, those are so specific that it can't be a mistake. And there are occasions when something will come out of the mouth that is so clearly them. This story, I'll tell the cleaner version. I was reading for a biracial same-gender couple. The black partner had died and her white widow wanted to speak to her. Now, I grew up in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I have manners. I know how to speak with people. But when I connected with her partner, what came out of my mouth was rolling urban ebonics that should not come out of this space. And I was plaid and just aghast. But the woman in front of me was nodding and laughing because that particular phrase was how her partner Isabel walked into the house after every business trip. And that is a reason why we can't have our egos involved as good psychics and readers. Because if my ego was worried about, I can't say that, that would have derailed that message. She never would have gotten it.
Definitely.
And if we're worried about, is the information right, we're not listening upstairs. As John Holland, a very, very well-known medium, has said, kids, you're just the tube it comes through. It's not you. And the more you remember that, the more likely it is that your messages will be clear.
Love it. Love it. Is there ever a time when you shouldn't go to a psychic, or it's an...
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If you absolutely want a particular answer and you're not going to be settled until you get it, you're wasting your money. Let's go back to the does Bruce love me thing, because this has happened to me and to every other psychic I know. Does Bruce love me? No. Well, is he gonna love me? No, he's not. Well, if I do such and such, is he gonna love me? No, he isn't. Well, is he gonna call? No. If he's not gonna call soon, is he gonna call later? And they beat on you.
Wow.
Hoping that you will just collapse and say, yes, he loves you and he wants 7 babies with you, but he just doesn't know it yet. Oh, good, I thought so. No. Or you are absolutely convinced that things are not going to work out. And things like, my supervisor at work is mean to me. Is she going to get any nicer? No. Is her supervisor going to make her stop harassing me? No. Is she going to fire me? No. But if she doesn't like people, she fires them. Are you sure she won't fire me? There's nothing in the cards that I see that says anything like that. I have a meeting with her tomorrow. Is she going to fire me then, or am I going to quit first? She already has in her mind what's going to happen. And nothing I say, including adding tap dancing and sparkles, is going to change your mind.
Definitely.
Don't waste your mind. The other thing is, please do not come and want to speak to your dead people every single time you see me. Okay? When do they love you? Of course they do. But remember also, when they cross over, not only are they meeting all the dead people you know that they were related to, but everyone they've ever been with in all their lives. So they drop their personality and they're into their full soul. So it's like you're going to see them and you always want them to put on the same costume for you. Okay? They're this enormous soul, but you want them to still be your grandmother. Will they do it for you? Probably. But it doesn't do you any good and it doesn't do them any good. They love you. Know that. But you are still down here and you are still working on your life path. Now, if they come to you, that's a different thing. For instance, my father, who was my best friend, died in 2001, but he was a fabulous physician. And when I do medical intuitive work, especially if it's cardiac related, because he was a great cardiologist, I will sometimes say, hey, Dad, can you come in? He's right there because he was a fabulous physician. He compassion, loved helping people. That's not, I just need to hold his hand. That is, hey, up there, are you willing to work with me on this? And he loves it. Wow. But it's not every day.
It's amazing. Really amazing.
I've been doing it a while.
Yeah.
That's where you're getting this information from.
I love it. I love all of it. If a psychic can't read you, does that mean they're fake, or is that because you're kind of being difficult? Because some people try and catch people out.
Oh, I know that. I love skeptics because, I just smile and say, fine. And usually I can go, and they have, they have no way of saying I couldn't know that. But sometimes I am simply not their reader. They ask me for a past life, and when I go upstairs, I see their Akashic record book just flipping pages and they're all blank. Doesn't mean they haven't ever lived, but it means I'm not reading it. Or the cards will make no sense. That's when I say, Janet, I'm really, really sorry, but I am not connecting, so I may not be your reader. I immediately give them their money back. And if there's another good psychic at the event that I know, I might say, you might want to go see Crystal Winder. You might want to go see Judy Abbott. They're awfully good. I use them myself. Maybe they'll connect for you.
That's really interesting as well. I think the thing is, some people are just, out to, they want to know things clearly. That's why they come. But some people are, like you said, skeptics and kind of, why go then? I don't get it.
I know. And, sometimes they'll try to trip you up before they even come in the booth. I've had people look at me and say, well, tell me something you couldn't know about me, and if you're right, I'll have a reading. And I just smile at them and I say, I'm sorry. I don't roll over and fetch either. And I turn my back and they are not allowed in those. Oh. You don't treat me with respect, I will not treat you with respect either. Same thing. I take a break 15 minutes every 2 hours because I am always busy open to close. And there was 15 minutes when I was trying to wolf down a sandwich, and a guy leans over the booth and taps the table and says, hey, you don't need to eat right now. My wife wants a reading. Eat later.
Oh, gosh.
And I just looked at him and chewed. And my front person just went right in front and said, I'm sorry, but that is rude and we will not read you. Thank God for my front person.
Definitely.
But some people think they can order us up like a burger or a car wash or latte. No, we are humans.
Definitely. Tell me a bit about talking to your spirit guides, your angels. Are they the same thing or are they different?
They can be the same, but generally they're different. All people have angels. We do. Birth to death.
Okay.
You got one, maybe two, three. And they have your name in the back of their tunics. The way to explain it is all angels are spirit guides, but not all spirit guides are angels. Angels are with us from birth to death. They have our names in the back of their tunics, like little camp tags I belong to. Spirit guides grow and change as we do. They're like teachers. And you don't have the same teacher from second grade and then in your PhD. So my first spirit guide that I was aware of was actually somebody that I flew with in World War I. We were both pilots. And we had saved each other's lives. So naturally, for a first spirit guide, this was someone I knew I could trust. Since then, I mean, there's still connection, there's still affection, but I've moved up to higher level guides. Right now, Baruchiel is my particular angel, and he seems to be my main guide. But everybody can do what I do. I cannot stress this enough. And the book that I learned to read with is called Opening to Channel, and it's by Sanaya Roman and Dwayne Packer. It's been around for 30 years, and it is a terrific book because it teaches you how to ground, center, and shield, how to stay safe, how to know if you're really getting somebody, how to make the connection correctly. Okay, it's funny. I lost a reality show because of what I just said. I have always told people I'm not special. You can do what I do. But the reality show people wanted me to say, oh no, nobody can do. You're amazing. You're world, blah, blah. I said, that's a lie.
Gosh.
And they just shrugged and they went on to somebody else who was willing to lie for the camera and some money.
Oh, God. But that's not good.
We are all wired like the same house plant. I tell people, look at your 10 fingers. Everybody can play chopsticks. Some of us, with a lot of effort, learning to read music, practicing our scales, we get good because we love the music. But 1 in 50 million is Elton John. But we all have 10 fingers. Yeah. So that's how to think of it.
Definitely. And I'll get that title of that book and put it in the show notes if anybody wants to actually have a look at that book, because that'll be really interested. I'd be interested in having a look at it, for one. What about channeling and mediumship? Are they different things or the same?
They are. Okay. Mediumship is talking to dead people. Channeling is upstairs work with everything else. When I get your past lives, I'm channeling them down. I channel your spirit guides. I channel your angels. But when I'm talking to Aunt Mabel, that's when I put on my hat as a medium. That's your difference.
That's pretty straightforward and really. And like you said, anybody can do this work.
But you got to give it time and practice, just like anything else.
Yes, definitely. So that book I'll put in the show notes. What would you say to someone about to open this book?
What? Opening to channel?
Yes.
Read it through first. Read it through. Make notes. It has nice large margins, so you can scribble in the margins. And then you start practicing. Do not expect perfection your first week. This is an ongoing process. Okay? Do what they tell you to do in terms of protection and all of that stuff.
Definitely. What resources do you recommend, daily tools, tips to anyone that wants to become a psychic? I know you've mentioned that book. Is there any other books you've written you could recommend?
To become a psychic? No. There are 6,000 books up there on how to become a psychic. The book that I have specifically written is for those people who want to go to psychics, who want to use psychic information but not do it themselves. The way I explain it is this. You go to an art museum. You go to the National Portrait Gallery. You go to the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston, and you love the paintings. You don't need to go home and get oil paints, acrylics, and a canvas and set it up in your kitchen. Maybe you just love the paintings. Let me tell them about Yellow Brick Road. So the Psychic Yellow Brick Road, How to Find the Real Wizards and Avoid the Flying Monkeys, is a book that keeps you safe. It's a book that gives you the information on how to find a psychic, what questions to ask, what to stay away from, what we can't do, when to run, so that you can feel safe working with an intuitive counselor. And there is no other book out there like that.
It's excellent. So where can the listeners find your books online? What's your website?
Oh, they can't avoid me. They really can't.
I love it.
The website is corbiemitleid.com. And as of June 1st, it's a brand new bells and whistles, fabulous site. You can also get the books there. Other places to find me on Facebook, Fire Through Spirit. It's where I do my monthly free reading hour. You can find me on Pinterest, Instagram, YouTube, medium.com for my blogs, Patreon, Twitter. That's all under Corbie Mitleid.
That's absolutely excellent. Thank you so much for sharing your deep, insightful wisdom and knowledge with us today, Corbie Mitleid.
It was a pleasure.
I loved it. I wish we could go on. I have a couple of questions I ask all my guests, and one of them are, because we are the Create the Courage to Be Fearless podcast, what is one of the most courageous things you've done? Because I'm sure you've done many. Can you
One
name
of the most
one?
courageous things I ever did was face cancer 3 times, doing the cancer dance. And the last one was a double mastectomy and all kinds of nonsense that took me from a literal Dolly Parton figure to a fat fire plug with permanent side effects. And this was a year and a half after I married. It taught me that I am worth a lot more than my body. It taught me that I was going to be okay. And I'm 18 years clean, and I intend to stay clean. That was courage for me.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely courageous. What is your definition of courage?
Courage is understanding that things happen that you may not like, may not want to deal with. But if you ask yourself certain questions, you can get through it. And those questions are, what am I afraid of? Why am I afraid of that? What do I think would happen if I stopped being afraid of it? Give yourself the opportunity to look forward and realize there are other answers besides fear. This has been great fun. And please go and people have an adventure. Go have an adventure and see if intuitive counseling is for you as a tool or maybe even a skill that you have.